Welcome back to Bitwig Studio, my friends. Let's talk about shortcuts today. I have really tried to incorporate a little bit of the many options that are available here in any DAW, but in Bitwig specifically, in order to improve my workflow a bit. And I figured today I want to share some of the most useful ones that I found from my workflow to maybe inspire you to cut some time off your dreaded, unnecessary clicks and unnecessary moves with the mouse in order to get where you want to go. And so some of the most useful options I think have to do with the beat grid. So what you want to do in order to change shortcuts is you can go to File and Settings, or you can just hit this Bitwig icon here. Go to Settings, Shortcuts, and then you could just type beat grid here. Delete that. Beat grid. So this field here allows you to search for the function, whereas this field here allows you to find the keys that are currently mapped. So if I say I hit W, it will go to smaller beat grid, which is exactly where we start. I have mapped larger beat grid and smaller beat grid, which is something really useful, and I put them on W and Q, I think. So if we go in here to our little drum track with some of the stock drum sounds that are in Bitwig, we can try to make some stupid drum rhythm happen here. And I originally had this done in some way, but I figure what better way to show you the beat grid division thingy shortcuts than to just make it happen live. So if I hit play, we have this. Here's the kick, and we'll just build something really stupid and simple. But if we hit Q now, you can see how we change the beat grid to make it larger, I think they call it. I like to think of it as more rough and coarse versus a finer beat grid. So this is more coarse, of course, because there, if you move the note now, it will only move to the next full bar. But for drum rhythms, of course, this isn't useful. And normally what you would do is you would go in here, then hold the left mouse button and change the beat grid this way. But if you do this every time you need to change the grid, it gets really frustrating, especially because you have to click on this thing first, which wasn't always the case in Bitwig. I think it used to be able to just, you could just drag it here. So with the keys set though, with the smaller and larger beat grid keys, we can simply hit W, and you can see how the beat grid division or the beat grid fineness, detail level is coming up. So this allows us to maybe make it more coarse in order to set the stupid kicks. Or to make it finer to be able to place it more in a finer way. Yes, this is a really world-changing rhythm. So this is the first keys that I want to draw your attention to, finer and smaller beat grid. A thing that's even more important to me almost is the beat grid subdivision, which has to do with the timing. So again, you go into the shortcuts. I've put it on R, previous beat grid subdivision. Now there's also the next beat grid subdivision, but you really only need to set one of the keys in order to cycle through all of them. If you look at the subdivision here, I can cycle through the different subdivisions of the beat grid in order to make more complex rhythms that are kind of off the regular beat grid. And you will see in a minute what I mean here. If I go to trials, you can also change the beat grid to make it a little larger again. I'll change it back to regular. And you can hear how these are trials here. They're kind of waltzy. They just feel different. They have some kind of shuffle feel to them, whereas the regular notes that we put in here have the regular feel, the straight beat grid feel to it. And as you can see, we have created this really quickly. And if I hit R again, I can cycle through the different ones. So these are some of the ways that I like to use the beatgrid functions. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. So something else I want to show you is a key that I like to use, which I have put on A for automation. So if I hit this, it brings up my automation panel where you can do, you know, finer stuff. If we turn this stupid sound on, that is basically basic. There's nothing happening to it yet. It's just a really quick way to get the automation panel going versus using this one, of course, where you could simply drag it and draw it in there. Something that I really don't like to do when I want to work detailed, in a detailed manner. So I just hit A to bring it up or bring it away, and there we are. So that thing is called, I think, automation. Focus or toggle automation editor panel. This is the type of command that it's called, and I've put it on A for automation so I can easily remember. And this is also, of course, a useful idea to put those on the WASD keys that we normally use in gaming and different sorts of applications, because the left hand usually always rests on these keys. And so talking about that, I also have a different one which is put on D, which is the device panel. And so if you work on a project with large amounts of tracks in them, sometimes you may be wanting to hide the device panel so you can see more of what's going on in your project. And where normally you would bring up, and I still do this all the time, double click the track that you want to work on and it brings it up. You will find if it really adds up if you automate this with a shortcut. And it's just really handy, especially once you get used to it, doing it this way. And I'm still doing that. I still have not really moved over all the way. So those are these subkeys, these hotkeys that I really like to use a lot. But it goes a little further than that, because we can also do different sorts of thingies here. So if we listen to this again, delete the automations that we have. I don't really have any automation. Oh, it's the volume, right. Hit A, bring that up. There's nothing written. I don't know why that red button is going on there. What we can do, and something that I really like to do from our workflow in general, bring up the device panel again, hitting D. Let's say we wanted to make a sound that is more complex. So let's say we wanted to change red through blue. And we want it to move, but we don't want it to move using simple LFOs or you know, fixed parameters in this way that always work the same way, but we want to draw them in, either using our mouse live if you want, or you could even use your controller, you know, map it to the controller, hit the right mouse button, map to controller or key, and then simply hit on your controller, hit the knob that you want to hit, and that would be that, you know. So one easy way that I found that really has changed and helped me a lot is if you hit this thing, show mappings browser panel, you will get to a place where you can map all the different commands that you see overlaid here. You can just hit one of those and you can give them a name. And I've already done this in this project. For ease of use, I can take those away. what you want to do, or want to try maybe, for automation, for ease of automation workflow writing, is left click this button, Automation Write Arranger, and hit T. That's the key I use. You can use any key you want, of course. Hit this one as well and give it the same name. Give it T. I use the key because it's fairly close to my WASD keys, and for some reason I found that is a really good choice. You close this thing again. What we have effectively done now is given ourselves the ability to easily record automation whenever we want. So this means you would be listening back to what you have already created, say a really stupid, simple, basic sound here that has nothing going on in there. And we play around with it a bit. We're like, oh, I like that. I want it exactly like that. So what you would do is hit stop again, go back to the beginning, hit T. You can do this on the fly as well while you're doing it, but we can start doing this already. So if we hit play now, maybe make this a little longer, maybe scale, delete this thingy. Now it has written this here. It has written this here because we have given it the same key, but for ease of use I like to use the same key for both commands. So we go back in here. Because we have doubled it, it has effectively drawn out our automation. And if we hit A again, we can see how that looks. And then, of course, you can use your mouse to fine-tune the rest that you may not have gotten right. But the easy and the cool thing about this is you can easily automate a ton of parameters in a really short amount of time. So we just loop this continuously and find parameters that we want to add. And once we have found a parameter that we want to change, we simply hit T again in order to record what we are doing. And when we're done with that, we hit T again while it all continuously keeps looping. So let's say we wanted this. See, we have effectively created a ton of automations that normally would take a long time. And while the sound, granted, is not really awesome and it's not really getting us where we want to get, maybe, when this is focused not on showing off the basic function but on actually creating awesome sounds, which I probably should do sometime, then you can see how easy it is to create a lot of automations that stack. So again, if you have this closed, you hit this button here for automations, and you can hit the star, which will show you all the automations you've done. You can see how easy that was. I mean, especially in comparison, or not in comparison, but in connection with the controller, the MIDI controller, you do it the same way. So either you use the mouse and do this right on the screen and write directly what you want, or you use the MIDI controller you have to just do it the same way. And by just hitting the T button, we have effectively armed our recording ability of the automation, and just hitting T again disarms it. You don't have to click, you don't ever have to let go of the button itself or something. It's just working, you know? And this is something that has really, really helped me a lot. And I should probably stop here. But before I let you go, I want to share another hack. Let's say we had duplicated this. Kind of changed the sound a bit, so to distinguish them. Like so. Excuse me. So let's say you had two tracks that are similar and you wanted to compare them against one another. What we normally would do is to solo them, play them. I turned the drums off for now. What we would normally do is solo them and then swap back and forth between them, which is cumbersome and really doesn't help the comparison. We can go back to our mappings here, our custom mappings. And we could also map the solo and mute buttons. So for this exercise, we could say put a key on the solo track. I like to give it the 1. And the other track that we want to compare to and also give it the same key, 1 for example. Close this again. And then change the default state so that one of them is active and the other one is not. And so if we hit 1, it just swaps between the two. And you can easily compare. Now if you build, let's say, psychedelic trance or techno or something, and you want to make the bass line that you're producing sound like your reference track by the pros that you like to aim for in skill level or in, you know, quality of sound, what you would do is to simply put your reference track on one of the tracks, and map its solo function, and then put your group where all your basses and your kicks, say, are in to the same key. And by doing this, you can easily do the A/B comparison without needing any extra plugins or stuff. I mean, there are good ones out there for sure, but this is all incorporated here if you just map it the right way. And of course, you could do all sorts of complex stuff. So you could, let's say we had 10 more tracks here, you could mark them and put their default state in a way where you could only hear track 5, track 7, and track 11 as one, and then if you hit one button, you would swap to the other set of tracks that would go together. And so this way you can really easily swap between two different sets of tracks, if you will, and just using a shortcut doing that. I mean, that's just awesome. Because I always tend to ramble on, and to make this longer than it needs to be, I think I should stop here. I think you get the idea. So to recap, you go on this little button, go to settings. I recommend changing beatgrid and beatgrid subdivision, and little things that you like to do in your normal workflow, like maybe go to the automation panel or toggle the device panel. And then most importantly, for me anyway, from my workflow, set a button using this thing, using this icon, set some hotkeys for writing automations, so that when you stumble upon some shift that you're doing with the mouse in your sound, or with your controller in your sound, that you can easily just hit T and capture it, and not think 5 minutes later, oh wow, I wish I would have captured that awesome setting that I was tweaking with 5 minutes ago and now it's gone. So I hope this helped you out a bit. If you still need Bitwig, you can find a link in the description below to get 5% off. And you can also find the link to the demo. If you haven't tried the program out, I recommend you do. And as always, thanks for watching. Any recommendations and improvements are always welcome. I have the feeling I learn more from you guys than you may learn from me. But so in this way, because I'm still learning, this is also really good for me. So blah, blah, blah. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.